Yes, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, Pick Six podcast moderator. Tell me, sir, how great Sauce Gardner was, and should we be sizing him up for a bust in Canton already?
I must confess that I was not keeping a keen eye
on
the Jets rookie camp this weekend, mainly because I was busy being a great father down at Camp Seagull with Y Guides going on. Yeah.
Good for you.
Shout out to our crew, the Legends of the Cobras, for an incredible weekend. Just a fun time all around. But yeah, I mean, like, I think the bigger story with this stuff is somebody, and then even when I say this, there's a caveat to it. Like, is somebody, if you're not getting hyped up and you're a top tier pick, that's when I get a little more concerned. But, we had Jamar Chase last year. It's like, drops in the preseason. Yeah. You better look out for this bust. And he has the greatest rookie wide receiver season in the history of professional football. So I think all of that stuff is a big time grain of salt situation, particularly. But, like, you want Sauce being out there, being aggressive in rookie camp and playing well. And if he's not, you can maybe be concerned. But, I think your question was largely sarcastic.
It was very much sarcastic. I think it's undeniable. I want to talk about a couple of teams here, and I keep trying to remind people that I am not a Jets fan. Okay, I used to be a Jets fan. I really what they do does not bother me one way or the other. I don't get excited if they win. I don't get depressed if they lose. They're just a team. I have become more a fan of the National Football League than I have of any particular team. But it's hard to deny that Gardner at 4, Garrett Wilson at 10, trading back into the first round to get Jermaine Johnson the second from Florida State, the defensive end, the edge rusher, I believe at 26. I mean, they get the top running back in the draft in the second round. I mean, it's hard not to say that the Jets, really set themselves up with this draft. I mean, I don't know if it's the best draft because we really can't tell. But what are your thoughts on what they did?
Well, I mean, I like to sort of put it in and by the way, they drafted somebody named Bryce Hall in 2020 too. So you got that.
That's right. A Virginia defensive.
The two Michael Carters. I mean, what's going on, Joe Douglas? With you're like, I don't know, is it alliteration? I don't even know what you call it. But I mean, I think generally speaking, when you look at what the Jets did, not just from this particular draft, but over the last 3 drafts, and those are Joe Douglas's drafts. Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, certainly the jury is still out on those two, and Mims in particular, I think people can question. Ashton Davis could end up being a quality player to add on, but then Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore. I thought Michael Carter out of Carolina flashed last year at times as a possible stud running back, but then you add Breece Hall to that, and so now all of a sudden you have that 1-2 punch at running back that you want in a Shanahan/LaFleur system, and they made a conscious decision, I think, by going Sauce and then Garrett Wilson at 4 and 10 to say, all right, we're going to give Mekhi Becton a chance to prove himself this year, and we believe that Elijah Vera Tucker can step up and be a top tier player as well, because they certainly could have taken a tackle. At 4. I mean, that was an option for them if they wanted to do it. So I like what they did. They built in the trenches. They added the quarterback they believe is the guy, and then they come back and get the quarterback some help and just start building on defense, which is what you need to do. I mean, on balance, you have 4 picks in the top 36 picks. You want them to be good.
Yeah.
And like, if you come away being like, I don't know about those 4 picks, that's a pretty big problem, even in a questionable draft, because you need to come away with 4 good players, and I think they did that.
All right. You mentioned quarterback, and like, we have no idea if Zach Wilson's the guy.
No.
But I am curious about 2 quarterbacks that were starters last year for teams that probably aren't going to be starters this year for those teams. The Baker Mayfield thing we'll just leave for on the side for a second. What's going to happen with Garoppolo? What happens with Jimmy G in this offseason? My guess is that San Francisco would have traded him were he not hurt, were he not had he not gone in for surgery. But they've pretty much made their decision that they are moving on to Trey Lance.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that, right?
Yeah. So here's how I think this sort of plays out, and it could go a number of different ways still, just because of the nature of what happened. And Jimmy G, I'm pretty sure about this. This was not a, hey, the team says you need to go get surgery. This was Jimmy going, I'm going to go get surgery.
Right.
Now, the team probably wasn't thrilled with that because it inevitably disrupts their timeline with him. If he hadn't had surgery, you can potentially trade him. He's just going to fail a physical until he gets it to where he's capable of playing. I think at this point, though, they have less than $1 million in cap space. They can at any point in time cut Jimmy G and save $25.5 million in cap space. So if the need arose, they could do that in a heartbeat. I think that they will be a little more conservative with how they played the Jimmy G situation. I think they'll let him get healthy. I think they'll try to get closer to training camp through the offseason, see where he is, see what interest there is from other teams. The Seahawks probably aren't a candidate because they're in the division, but you never know. Mm-hmm. The Panthers drafted Matt Corral, potentially just to spite the Browns for not giving them Baker Mayfield on the cheap. And so there's not a ton of landing spots. Now, once you get to training camp, for whatever reason, whether it's retirement, injury, suspension, any number of things, there could be multiple candidates or multiple trade partners or multiple teams that could become candidates as a trade partner for whatever reason. And that's just the nature of the NFL in the offseason. So I think the 49ers will slow play it, hope to, be in a spot where they can afford not to release him, and then try to trade him closer to the season, knowing that if they can't, and Trey Lance isn't lighting up training camp, or they're not comfortable going to Trey Lance, they always have Jimmy G as an option, which I don't think Kyle Shanahan would mind all that much, to be perfectly honest.
No, I mean, they win with Jimmy G. I mean, look, I don't even want to point out like quarterback win-loss record because it's the dumbest stat. Because unless your quarterback is otherworldly, wins are team wins. They're not. They don't only belong to a quarterback. We've had plenty of
quarterbacks usually have more wins, but suggesting that a quarterback who doesn't have wins is not good is silly.
Oh, but Jimmy G's record is he's got a good record, but it isn't because Jimmy G is some great quarterback.
Right.
For the most part, and we always have those Jimmy G moments in a game, but for the most part, Garoppolo has been solid. He's been a guy that can he can make plays to help you win games. Like the underrated part of San Francisco's upset of Green Bay was that of the two quarterbacks, only Garoppolo put together a drive that mattered in the second half. Garoppolo put together, he didn't have to be otherworldly, but he made plays during a drive in the second half that got them points when Aaron Rodgers struggled to do that. So he should get credit. Like we talk about Peyton Manning in that when Manning couldn't throw anymore, but they won a Super Bowl. But in the second half, Manning put together one good offensive drive, and sometimes that's all you need to do to win a game, and that's what Garoppolo did. I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? What's going to happen with Baker Mayfield?
Man, I don't know. Like Baker keeps talking about, Baker needs to stop talking. He's like, oh, well, if you told me like 2 weeks ago it'd be the Colts, but then they traded for Matt Ryan. He's like, no, I guess I'm just going to the Seahawks. And then the Seahawks are like, all right, we might have wanted you a little bit, but now we're just going to spite, not trade for you. And the next day they signed Geno Smith. It's like firing a shot across Baker's bow. I think Cleveland's going to have to sort of do the same thing that San Francisco will do in terms of being patient and hoping a trade partner pops up. Obviously, the deal with the Panthers fell through. The problem, though, for them is that they can't really bring Baker in and let him practice the way that the 49ers could. If 49ers bring in Jimmy G and he practices and he's just better than Trey Lance, you're like, okay, well, we'll run Jimmy G back for a year, half a year, whatever it is. With Baker, it's almost like he's going to stay away from the team, and if he does come, it'll be a problem, and you have Deshaun Watson. You don't know if he'll be suspended. I mean, weirder things have happened, but it would be surprising if Baker was starting for these hypothetically suspended games for Deshaun Watson, especially after they signed Jacoby Brissett. Not that he's a stone cold lock to be the backup there. I think they got to hope somebody opens as a trade candidate, swallow their pride, eat half of the salary, if not more, and get like a 6th or 7th round pick for him in return. And I just don't know if they'll be willing to do that.
Yeah, look, I was hoping that the Panthers would do something like that on draft day take Baker and a second or a third, but they obviously had their heart set on Matt Corral. And everything I have read now, they expect Matt Corral to overtake Sam Darnold probably this week. I don't know what's going to happen there.